If you have an idea for a healthcare app but don't know how to build in a HIPAA compliant way, then stick around. I'm going to break down what HIPAA means to you when building in AWS. First, a quick disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. You should consult your legal advisors to understand how HIPAA or related laws apply to you. Today's episode topic comes from Pushkar. Pushkar is an information analyst in the state of Virginia in the USA. When he's not singing and playing his guitar, he's thinking about ways to use technology to improve business processes. Let's hear from Pushkar.
Hi, I'm Pushkar, and I'm looking to come up with a decentralized digital vaccine record that enables our providers to capture an immutable vaccination record for the patients themselves to augment the record with any side effects, their personal information, and/or medical history. A centralized agency to serve as a validator or a custodian of the digital record. Event organizers, cross-border travel agencies, and the medical researchers can use the record to validate vaccinations for patients, study the side effects of the vaccine on patients in different audiences, all of this while maintaining anonymity of the patient's personal information. The reason I chose blockchain was it provides a truly immutable record, minimizing fraud, while protecting the patient's personal information in accordance with HIPAA rules. That's everything I'm looking to get today. Thanks.
Pushkar wants to make it easy for people to verify the vaccines that they've received. I'm going to use Pushkar's app as a healthy example to show what a healthcare app in AWS looks like. I know you've got this amazing idea for a healthcare app, and it's tempting to think, yeah, I just need to build it fast and get customers, and then I'll deal with this HIPAA jargon. Slow down, friend. You're going to have to think about HIPAA as you build from the ground up. You can't just build your app in AWS and expect it to be HIPAA compliant. You still have to take measures to assure you are adhering to necessary security regulations. At AWS, we refer to this as the shared responsibility model, which is extremely important in healthcare. I'll get into that more in a minute, but first, let's break down what HIPAA actually is. HIPAA is an acronym for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It's United States legislation that imposes requirements related to the use and disclosure of protected health information, or PHI. The goal of HIPAA is to protect the security and privacy of PHI. One of the ways to do that, which I'll focus on, is the idea of the safeguards principle. These safeguards can be thought of as controls that you put in place to protect PHI data. HIPAA defines PHI based on a set of 18 identifiers that may appear in data such as name or email address. This is the data that has to be protected. Don't worry, I've dropped links in the description of this video to HIPAA rules and what that means in AWS. This shared responsibility model is extremely important in healthcare. Shared responsibility outlines who is responsible for implementing those safeguards I spoke about when it comes to protecting PHI. There are 5 key categories that you've got to be on top of to achieve and demonstrate HIPAA compliance in AWS. They are 1, a business associate agreement, also known as a BAA. 2, only use HIPAA eligible services. 3, always encrypt both in transit and at rest. 4, audit everything. And 5, demonstrate compliance. A BAA is a legal document that outlines who is responsible when it comes to ensuring the privacy of healthcare data. Once the BAA is in place, it's time to build. There are a lot of rules when it comes to healthcare and PHI. You have to take these into consideration when designing and building. AWS has HIPAA-eligible services, which are AWS services that AWS has reviewed and approved to host or process PHI. All the services that I'm going to mention are HIPAA eligible. I've included a link that lists the AWS services that are HIPAA eligible. It's important to know that HIPAA eligible does not mean HIPAA compliant. Feel free to pause the video to let that sink in. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, now let's look at Pushkar's app to see what HIPAA means. Every app needs secure user authentication and authorization. Amazon Cognito lets you add user sign up, sign in, and access control to your web and mobile apps quickly and easily. Pushkar needs to make sure that a user's vaccine history is accurate. This is a good use case for a ledger database. Amazon Quantum Ledger Database, also known as QLDB, is a fully managed ledger database that provides an immutable transaction log. Pairing QLDB with AWS AppSync will allow Pushkar to safely expose a user's vaccination history. AppSync is a fully managed GraphQL service that can be used to create APIs. You'll create an AWS Lambda function to integrate with your AppSync API with QLDB. Lambda allows you to run code without having to manage servers. Now with HIPAA, you've got to encrypt all the data that hosts PHI. In Pushkar's app, that means encrypting data in transit that passes from the internet through Lambda and to QLDB. It also means encrypting data at rest in QLDB. Fortunately, QLDB by default encrypts your data at rest. Make sure that every call you make over the network is encrypted. To do that, you need a TLS certificate, which can be managed through AWS Certificate Manager. Certificate Manager lets you easily provision, manage, and deploy public and private SSL and TLS certificates for use with AWS services and your internal connected resources. You also need to audit who has accessed PHI, so be sure to enable Amazon CloudTrail and turn on audit logging wherever PHI is processed. CloudTrail records activity made on your account and delivers log files to your Amazon Simple Storage bucket. You've also got to be able to demonstrate that your application is meeting the HIPAA rules. AWS Audit Manager automates evidence collection to make it easier to assess if your policies, procedures, and activities are operating effectively. Audit Manager provides a pre-built framework that supports HIPAA rules to assist you with your audit preparation. All of this put together helps you build an application on top of AWS that meets the requirements outlined in HIPAA and helps you secure and protect PHI. Does that mean that you're HIPAA compliant and you're done? Not exactly. This only represents a portion of the HIPAA compliance journey. There may be other controls you need that are specific to your business. You also want to check out the Architecting for HIPAA white paper. It explains more about HIPAA than I could in this short video. I've left a link to the white paper in the description of this video. Now, it's time for a recap. Don't start building until you have a BAA. Make sure you only use HIPAA-eligible services. These are the HIPAA-eligible services that I covered today. Sign into your app with Amazon Cognito. Build an API with AWS AppSync. Use AWS Lambda to get data from Amazon Quantum Ledger Database. Always encrypt both in transit and at rest. Make sure you're gathering evidence to demonstrate compliance with AWS Audit Manager. Show your auditors that you've got HIPAA compliance on lockdown and celebrate. That's how you build for HIPAA compliance. Not so scary now, right? Check out the links in the description of this video to get started on building your healthcare app. It doesn't matter when you start, as long as you just get started. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you soon.